Hey guys, Myles here at Tackle Hyve. It's another Sunday, so another video on competition shooting. And today I want to talk to you about wide transition. So if you're interested in learning more about that, stay tuned. Okay, if you compete and been in matches, then you understand what wide transitions are. And if you are new to competition shooting, maybe you don't. So I'm going to explain what it is, and it's exactly what it sounds like, is when you're transitioning between two targets that are very far apart from one another. So we're not talking about just here in front of us. There might be one target all the way here, and then maybe another target all the way on the other side. And I want to discuss two things when it comes to wide transitions that may be helpful with you. The first thing is, one thing I see a lot, and my gun is dry here, so I'm going to be pointing over here. So let's say you're one target and there is another, actually I'm going to pretend there's a target here and a target over here, okay? And typically when this happens, you're going to see beginners where they understand the saying that let your eyes lead. So after you take a shot, you're going to look to your next target with your eyes first, because you need to know where you're going, and then follow with your body and your gun, okay? So something like this is what beginners would do, because they take that literally and they take it to heart. They're doing the right thing. But if I have a target here, I break the shot, they're going to look at the next target, and now the gun follows all the way behind to the next target, which they did the transition successfully, no problem. Right? But the issue here is that it may not be as fast as another method. So take a look at this here. I break a shot here, bang. I look at another target all the way there. Notice I'm looking, and now my gun moves to that section or to that other target. A more efficient way to do this is to imagine that the gun is attached to your nose. Okay, there's like a rubber band, like it's an invisible rubber band, invisible bungee cord, whatever you want to call it, but this gun, the sights, never really leave your peripheral vision, okay? You do not want to be turning and the gun is all the way here, because then you're going to be slower. So that first method, I turn and all of a sudden my gun's still here, even though I see what I want to engage, I see the target, I'm not ready to shoot it yet. But if I think this way, where there's an attachment between my nose and the barrel of the gun here, when I turn, this starts following, right? It doesn't have to be lined up exactly. I'm not looking through my sights, but I lead with my eyes, but the muzzle, my sights are not far behind. So by the time I really lock in with my vision on that target, my sights are going to be overlaid and I can take that shot. Right? So it's going to be faster. And I'll demonstrate this live fire in a second. But the idea here is that we are always going to lead with our eyes. There's no doubt about it. And I'll do it from the other direction here. We're always going to lead with our eyes, but we do not need to lead with our eyes and leave our gun behind. Imagine that invisible bungee cord. I start turning my head, my eyes are leading, but my gun is always following as well. Right? And that's going to lead to faster shot time. So I'm going to demonstrate this live, then I'll discuss the second tip or the second point when it comes to wide transitions. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate this live. I have a target over here, right on my right, and a target over there, and it's probably, I don't know, 120 degrees apart, something like that, okay? And this is a wide enough transition to see kind of what my head is doing, and my gun is really far behind. The first rep, I am going to do this incorrectly. I'm going to time it, then we're going to compare it to using the concept of having my muzzle attached to this invisible rubber band or a bungee cord. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start here on the right. We'll make ready. And for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to start on target. Okay, so let me see here, that target and that target here. So that was a 175, and it wasn't completely incorrect, because it's hard for me to do it incorrect. I started moving my gun halfway. As my head turned halfway, I started moving my gun. So that's a 175, partially incorrect. Okay, if it was completely incorrect, it probably would have been 2 seconds. So let's compare it now, where I use the concept of that invisible bungee cord here. Okay. Okay, so that was a 137. As you can tell, total time is much faster because I do not have to wait for the gun. My eyes are already locked on and my gun is really just right behind. Whereas if, in contrast to the first rep, I'm already locked onto my second target. I'm waiting for that gun. So that's the first tip. If you guys are doing wide transitions, don't let your gun stay behind. Start turning with your eyes, look at your next target, but your gun should be right behind your vision. All right, so hope you guys like that first tip. The second tip deals with wide transitions between targets that maybe are about 180 degrees from each other. So I have a target over here and then a target almost 180 degrees the opposite direction here. So basically on my left and my right, okay? So if I'm engaging one target, what is the best way to transition to the next target? Okay, and that's what I want to discuss here. If you come from the tactical world, you may learn that every time you transition, you're going to bring that gun into your chest and then push out to your next target. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely something taught in the tactical defensive world. One of the main reasons it's taught is that when you're transitioning, you might be in a crowded space or there might be other people around. You do not want to be swinging that gun around with the potential of someone catching it, grabbing your gun, getting in your way. When you turn, you're able to keep it nice and tight and secure so that you keep your firearm secure. In the sport world, they don't normally do that. Normally, you're going to keep your gun up so that you have a good grip already, a good stance. You're already roughly seeing through your sights or your red dot, right? And you can then transition to the target with your platform all set. The tactical space, again, is very different. Now, here's the thing, and in my experiments, this is actually true. If you have a very wide transition and you bring your gun in and push out to the next target, you will actually be faster in terms of the transition time. But the trade-off I've noticed is that depending on the size of the target and the distance of the target and your skill level, yes, transitioning like this, so I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Wide transition, I'm going to pull in, push out. That is faster, but again, skill level, size of the target, distance of the second target, the accuracy can actually be worse. Why? Because I'm not looking through my sights right now. I have to reestablish my platform, bring my sights back up, and it takes a little bit more time, but generally speaking, if it's a close target, you can really nail that quickly, pushing out. But now, if I have my sights up, okay, or let me backtrack, if I am engaging, pushing out on a far target, I have to realign my sights, do all that stuff, and it takes some time. Okay, so there's a trade-off here. In competition, everything is fast too, right? People want speed, but you're gonna, again, the variables we have to consider, right? So this is not a golden rule. It's not black and white. There are variables, shooter's capability, size of the target, distance of the target. In competition, we're gonna start from one target here, keep that gun up, look with our eyes, kind of that invisible bungee cord we were talking about, and then keep our gun up so our sights are pretty much lined up with our eyes, and then we break that shot. That might be a little slower than bringing it in and turning, but in terms of accuracy, it should be much better because you don't have to, again, reestablish your shooting platform. So we're going to do this with a timer using the same exact targets to highlight the differences here in terms of time. Okay, so I'm going to start on target with the same target I shot initially, and this rep I'm going to pull in and then extend out, okay? I can already tell that if I want to push the speed, this target is pretty far, my second target, that my accuracy might not be there if I'm really relying just on brute speed to be, fast without honing in on that accuracy. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start on target, and I'm going to pull my gun in. Okay, so that was a 120, a 120. I had to take some time, definitely, because I had to push that back out, but let's see what the times are like in terms of the transition now in the sport world where they'll usually keep that gun out, okay? Now, as I mentioned here, there are some variables. Okay, that target for me is somewhat relatively easy. The distance is far, but the target is pretty far. So when I pushed out, I still, it took some time for me to aim, but it was still a shot that was relatively easy. Before I talk further, let's compare it to the second type where I'm going to keep my gun up. So that was a 120. That was a 137, okay? So it was slightly slower. Is this conclusive of a lot of different things? Like this is, you definitely, if you want to be faster, you always have to pull it in, all that stuff. Not necessarily. Remember what I mentioned though, the difficulty of the target, shooter's capability, size, distance to the target factor in. So I do want to say something here. I tried to make this as standard as possible, and it was a little bit slower because I'm swinging this weight further out here rather than bringing it in, then using momentum to push it back out, which makes it a little bit faster. But what if that target, the second target, was a little bit harder for me? Maybe it was further out, where this, I was relying kind of on natural point of aim too, so I was able to hit that second target easy while doing it from compressed ready. Whereas if it was a harder target, I may have needed more time here, okay, to aim on that second target using the first method. Whereas with the second method, if I had my gun up, I already have my sights lined up roughly eye level so I can take that other shot sooner on a more difficult target. So what I'm trying to say with this second tip is that generally speaking, this is going to be faster from that tactical world, but are you necessarily going to be more accurate? Not always the case. You got to factor in those variables. In the sport world, you generally are going to keep your arms up, okay? Arms up so that you can see your sights, and you generally are going to be more accurate. At the end of the day, you do want to experiment. You know, try the different methods. In the sport world, will see more shooters keep the arms up, but it's not to say that you always have to. There may be situations or stages where you might have to bring your gun in, but here you can always experiment. But the point here is that one method generally is faster, one method generally will lead to more accuracy. So play with both methods. I hope you found that video on why transitions helpful. Just 2 little tips that can potentially help you in your performance in competition shooting. As always, if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up, leave us some comments, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next Sunday.